So what we did was we had a collaborative exercise statewide, what we call the WMD teams, and the goal here was to work out any operational inconsistencies and to really make sure that we had a real clear operating picture of how these different entities work. There were up to 18 of them represented, 120 responders total, from law enforcement to incident management teams to the fire and hazmat personnel themselves. What this really was an opportunity to test the system and find out where we're at. These folks are the tip of the spear when it comes to the planning, the prevention, and the response piece of a WMD attack that may or may not ever occur. Very low frequency, very high risk events. And what we're trying to do is really lay the groundwork for anything that may come in the future when it comes to that response piece. As far as the actual exercise itself, we were putting together what we call JHATs, or Joint Hazard Assessment Teams. They're small teams formed with members of different disciplines, i.e. a law enforcement officer, a bomb technician, and a hazmat personnel. And what they try to do is vet any issues that may come up prior to sending a full-blown response towards those. In one of the incidents, we had what we call an area array. An area array is a 4-gas detection machine with kind of a super sensor inside of it that projects the information back to a central location. So we can set out up to 18 of these here in the city at any one location, and all the information comes back to one central location. So when an issue does come up, i.e. we get some readings on the meter, what we're able to do is deploy these JHAT teams towards that incident. They will vet that prior to, again, calling in a full-blown response. Well, what it really does is it breaks down some of those, some of that awkward moment that may initially come when working with different agencies from throughout the state. So as an example, we may not work with the Cedar Rapids bomb team very often, but certainly there may come an instance where we either need their resources or they need ours, and it breaks down that unfamiliarity, number one, make sure that we are all operating under the same standard operating guidelines, and make sure that we understand the capabilities of each different entity and well, what they can do. With the Governor's Conference coming next year to the City of Des Moines, we were assuming that they would use a large venue at some point in time. So thank you to the Polk County Board of Supervisors and also the Iowa Event Center for letting us use that facility and that location. Provided us a lot of different areas where we could engage all 120 responders almost simultaneously, whereas in a very small venue that would be very difficult to do. So what we tried to do was engage also the tactical teams. So some of the responses we did outside of the Wells Fargo Iowa Event Center were to actually engage properties that had what we would call an active lab working. So production of something that is not good for us. And their job was to swiftly execute the entry into this location, also securing the facility, knowing what their stoplights were, pulling back at that point, and transferring that information on to the next team that may come in, whether it be an EOD or bomb team or a hazmat team. I think we're more ready than we've ever been. Ready for the actual event, very, very hard to say. You know, we've had very few of these types of incidents throughout the United States, and it really comes down to how you execute, right, at game time. We can practice all we want, but it really comes down to execution. I feel like we've got a lot of very dedicated, talented responders throughout the state. I feel like what we've been doing is good work. I think it's money well spent, even though the probability is fairly low. Again, we know that the consequences of these types of events are so high that we have to be prepared for it. And I truly believe we're doing the best we can. And I'd like to think that given the opportunity, we could execute and perform well.